Hello everyone, welcome back to Circular New and happy belated new year. I know it's the end of the month, but please just allow me. I hope you're all doing well given the very strange and difficult circumstances we find ourselves in once again. I wanted to film today's video with a different tone to other Digi-Diaries that I've done in the past. This is a video about my experience doing the No New Clothes 2020 challenge last year and my journey that led up to that decision as well. I've been making notes throughout the year so that I wouldn't be racking my brain when it came to filming this, but I think it's going to be really nice to reflect on the experience in totality, having actually, and I can say, completed it. Now, I never used to jump on the New Year's Eve resolution hype, but in 2019 I wanted a clause that would help me justify a lifestyle decision in case I was having a moment of weakness, and I felt that making this lifestyle decision as a resolution would hold me to some sort of account throughout the year. This will now be the third year in a row that I've hopefully set a resolution and stuck to it. And this video is really a personal documentation of my experience over the last 2 years and my hopes and predictions for the year ahead. This journey actually started back in 2018 when I was still living in Sheffield and I just started my final year at Sheffield Hallam. I really became aware during that academic year of the systemic environmental and social issues concerning the fashion industry. Up until that point, my degree in fashion management and communication had been mostly about creative inspiration, styling and art direction, and I still love those things, but I guess you could say I had the wool pulled over my eyes up until I reached my final year with my focus being on those things. It was in October 2018 I stumbled across an article on the circular economy which I'd never heard of before. I literally had no idea what it was, and that article led me down a rabbit hole of research and discovery which ended up lasting the entirety of my final year and became the focus point of my major final project as well. So this really caused me to stop and reflect on my own personal consumption behaviours naturally, and at this point in late 2018 I was already shopping in vintage stores because I found that, Sheffield's vintage store scene is fantastic, loads of really good independent brands, but I found that I was able to find clothes that resonated with me and allowed me to express my style most. And I'd also begun shopping in charity shops as well because I was doing voluntary work weekly with Age UK, so this had helped to dissolve any outdated stigmas that I had about charity shopping, because to be honest I definitely never considered it up until I was doing my voluntary work and I realised how amazing it was. But despite both of those things I was still shopping fast fashion from time to time. I think it's quite fair to say as a fashion student at this point I was still somewhat influenced by the notion of trends. The nature of my research for uni required me looking at trend prediction sites like WGSN and Unique Style platform that we actually collaborated with on a project. So I was quite still hooked on this idea of trends just because of what I was studying and researching at uni. And I think I still felt like I wanted to aspire to trends at that time as well. But by the time it came to bringing in 2019, I'd made the decision based on my newfound circular knowledge that I was going to set myself a New Year's resolution for the first time ever. I pledged for 2019 that I would only buy second-hand clothes, so only then shopping from vintage stores and charity shops. And I absolutely smashed that goal, but arguably a little too well. I was super proud of myself for seeing this goal through for the year, but I noticed that by the end of 2019 I'd bought more clothes in a single year than I'd ever done before. Because I was mostly shopping in charity shops, I was finding that I could get 4 items for the price of 1 fast fashion item. And I realised then that while switching to second-hand shopping has a lot of benefits, it's a great thing to do if you can, alone it's not enough. My efforts were somewhat undermined by my second-hand overconsumption, and what use is switching how I shop if I don't address how much I shop. So I decided that I needed to take it a step further for 2020, so January the 1st marked day 1 of 366, because it was a leap year last year, that I would not buy any clothes at all, not even secondhand. Now many people have used the hashtag No New Clothes 2020 to describe their challenge, but I just want to clarify on the definition of new in this context and for this video. So for many, no new clothes refers to what I did in 2019, which means no brand new clothes, so shopping secondhand. My definition of new for 2020 meant no new to me clothes, so that I wouldn't be buying any clothes at all that became new to my possession. I hope that makes sense. I've got to admit I was quite apprehensive about whether I could really do this. I love getting dressed, I get immense joy from getting dressed, in the sense that I love putting outfits together and experimenting with my wardrobe, trying different things. So I was genuinely worried that I would become bored or uninspired with my wardrobe over time. January and February were actually fairly easy, to be honest, but I did find myself on occasion longingly walking past charity shop windows, both to and from my uni route to Man Met, where I was doing my masters at this point. But I never tempted myself by even setting foot in the store. I just would walk past, which is good. And then March came along and, well, shit happened, didn't it? So I moved home in March and suddenly found that all my fun and playful outfits that I'd use to either go to uni, go to library, go out, were all traded up for joggers and hoodies, as I think most people can relate. I have to be quite honest and say that ironically the pandemic made it easier to stick to my New Year's resolution, because the temptation to go shopping was completely taken away from me. I couldn't even tempt myself. And I don't like online shopping. I'll just clarify that now. I prefer to see the clothes I'm going to buy and touch them and be able to try them on. So yeah, for me the temptation of shopping was stripped away, so that made it easier. And with nowhere to go, I had no need to dress up, so I wasn't then worried about whether my wardrobe would become repetitive or boring. But obviously I would have preferred to have struggled more with my resolution and not had the pandemic, of course. I mean, if I hadn't have been able to wear 4 sets of joggers and hoodies on rotates for half the year, I think my fashion FOMO would have had much greater precedent over me. At the same time as well, I often felt not myself, and this is quite hard to explain, so I'll try and give it a go. But I guess pre-COVID, so much of my identity and my confidence came from my wardrobe, came through my wardrobe, and suddenly not having access to showcase my wardrobe decisions felt like I was restricted from myself in a way. But I've got to be truthful. I'm very fortunate that nobody in my family has been directly impacted by the virus itself, although I don't think there's anyone that's not been at least indirectly impacted by lockdown and everything. I think naively I sort of expected lockdown would last a month and then we'd just kind of resume. Little did we know that in January, nearly a year later, we'd be sort of back here. But my morale was boosted massively on the 9th of April when I reached the milestone of 100 days. Thank you. I did a little Insta post to sort of commemorate the occasion, and as it said in the caption, the day marked a very bittersweet occasion, a mini personal achievement in the face of vast global change. I think as well when I hit 100 days, it was the first time when I really felt like I could actually do a whole year without shopping. So yeah, it was a nice little morale booster. In summer, obviously, we did have a short spell of relaxed restrictions. I actually think summer was the most difficult time for me doing this resolution, doing this challenge. I felt like there was an odd pressure to have reinvented or improved myself during lockdown, so that the first time anyone saw me I needed to visually make some sort of impression, and I found it really difficult to reconnect with my wardrobe as well. So after 3 months of living between my waitress uniform where I work part-time and my joggers, I genuinely felt like I'd forgotten how to dress myself. Obviously I could put clothes on, but what I mean is I felt I was really out of practice in terms of styling myself. I also noticed that I felt a lot less confident in making more daring fashion choices, or even wearing tighter fitting clothes after living in baggy clothes for so long. So I definitely felt like I'd had a weird style confidence knock, and I don't know if anybody else felt this way at all once we started being able to do a few things in summer, but it's just something I definitely noted in terms of my own feelings. And then we headed into autumn and winter. I was kept unbelievably busy with my final deadline for my masters at the end of October, which just kept me very distracted. And before you know it, it was Christmas, the New Year, and January the 1st, 2021. And last year kind of just feels like it was a weird hazy blur. in all honesty. Like, I feel that so much happened in the world, and yet I feel like I did so little when I know I didn't. But I'm trying to hold on to the fact that I did achieve things last year in the midst of a pandemic, and I think everybody should be celebrating the small wins. And getting through a year without buying clothes is a win, it's an achievement. Despite all the madness, I pretty much set out what I intended to do with the No New Clothes 2020 challenge, minor a few exceptions, which I'm going to go through now. Yeah, so while I don't necessarily advocate looking for loopholes in a resolution, it would be inaccurate of me to deny that there weren't any, or that I didn't necessarily use them at different points throughout the year. I want this to be a transparent and authentic documentation of my experience, so I think it's important to share these loophole scenarios with you. So in February last year, when we could actually go out and still do things, God, I miss that, I went to watch United at Old Trafford with my mum, dad and my brother. After the game, we were in the club shop, and there were some Adidas United joggers that I picked up and looked at, and my mum and dad bought me them and bought my brother something as well, sort of as a souvenir. These are the joggers. Obviously they've got United on. They are good quality, they're thick joggers, I wear them all the time, and I guess I use the argument that, well, technically I didn't buy them, I didn't buy myself new clothes, so that was sort of a treat for my mum and dad. Then summer came and I was running weekly in my cousin's second-hand trainers, which I've used for years for exercising, to be honest, and I really badly injured my calf whilst I was taking my shoe off. Not while I was running, while I was taking my shoe off, for God's sake. So I had a few months rest to let that heal, and then on my first run back I injured the arch of my foot. So I rang my doctors and basically explained what was happening, and she asked me what trainers I was running, and I explained they were second-hand, they were my cousin's, and she told me to invest in some proper running trainers to prevent future injury. I must run really weird or something, I don't know. So on doctor's orders, I did some research and I did buy myself a pair of new running trainers. I ended up getting the Adidas by Stella McCartney Ultra Boost 20 shoes, so this is what they look like. Don't know if the camera will adjust. They're super comfy. I haven't injured myself since I've started using these to exercise, so that's a good start. These had great reviews for running, and also Stella McCartney is a big advocate of the circular economy and does loads and loads of work with sustainability, so it felt like a balanced compromise to an extent. So medical reasons and Stella McCartney, I had to get myself some new running shoes. So that was that. A few of my friends had clear outs of their wardrobe over summer as well. Very kindly reached out and asked me if I'd like to look through anything before they dropped it off at a charity shop, because they obviously knew about my challenge, not buying clothes. So I ended up accumulating about a small suitcase worth of really nice clothes and dresses and t-shirts that they didn't want anymore. So that was really nice, then passing things on to me. But at Christmas I got white Kappa trainers from mum and dad. In fact, they're on my feet right now. Dirty already, of course. Yeah, these were a Christmas present. I didn't actually have any nice white trainers. The only ones I had were the ones I was running in that were my cousin's second hand. Again, this was a gift, although I was with my parents when I chose them, so I knew I was getting them as a gift. But I think as well, having had the conversation with my doctors about my feet, it's probably not a bad thing that I've got trainers that will mould to the shape of my feet and aren't already moulded to the shape of someone else's feet. And that's not to say don't buy second-hand shoes. It's more just like a precaution for me because I don't want to injure my foot again. And then the final confession that I do need to make is that I went to a designer outlet village, and I haven't been to one for like 5 years. Like before I went to uni was the last time and only time I've ever been to one before. And when I was there, I bought myself some Calvin Klein trainers, which I really like. I'm kind of noticing now as I'm unboxing this that I might have overdone the trainer accumulation this year. But again, I don't really want to injure myself, and most of the shoes I have are so worn or second hands. I see these as an investment purchase and looking after my feet, so I bought those Calvin Klein trainers. And I also bought this Kooples fluffy jumper, which I'm just obsessed with, to be honest with you. And I guess this is where the video gets a bit tricky. I had a debate with myself about whether buying those two things meant that I'd failed my New Year's resolution. Some people might off the bat say yes, I did. However, these trainers and jumper are the only brand new things I've bought myself since 2018. And I guess this kind of just shows that I'm human and I'm imperfect, and I'm not going to beat myself up about it. And to be honest with you, after a year of completing a master's degree in mostly lockdown situations, I kind of wanted to treat myself, and obviously with the option of going out dancing, going out for a nice meal not being available, this was a way that I could just have a bit of self-indulgence and do something that was for me. And at the same time, both of those items are really high quality items that I have invested a bit of money into, so I know they're going to last for a long while. They're completely my style, so I know that I'll wear them with so much. And in that sense, I don't feel guilty for buying those two things, although other people, very much entitled to as well, may have their own opinion on what this means in terms of my resolution. So for anyone thinking of maybe trying to change their consumption behaviour this year, or even having their own go at like a no new clothes 2021 challenge, whether that's not buying brand new, only buying second hand, or not buying anything at all, I thought it might be worthwhile just to share some top tips that I learned throughout my personal experience. The first point I want to share is you don't have to go cold turkey. Big lasting lifestyle changes don't happen overnight and often require a bit of trial and error while you find your feet with it. Although cutting consumption the sooner the better, ease yourself into it and build it up as a mental habit over time so that you're more likely to stick to permanent changes in your consumption behaviours. I don't think I'd have been able to have tackled the 2020 challenge if I hadn't have gone only second-hand shopping in 2019 first. So that was sort of my transition year, and then I was ready to up it. Having grown up like in the UK and having been institutionalised by capitalism and consumerism since I was born, it takes conscious effort to really begin noticing and understanding our individual consumer behaviours, the causes and the stimulants, and how that's then reflected in our actions as well. Just to summarise that first point, be proactive as possible, be realistic, be kind to yourself, and remember the bigger picture of why you're pursuing a fashion challenge. So for me it was to try and support environmental benefits and social benefits, and not use fashion when it's still very exploitative of people and planet. Number 2, trends are a false promise. You will never be on trend. You heard it here. You are, by design of the fashion industry, you are never meant to be on trend. You are always meant to be a step behind, because if you don't feel behind, you won't feel compelled to buy. I cover this in an Instagram post, I think summer last year, where I spoke about the difference between fads, trends and style, and I'm going to tell you right now, to summarise, style 100% the way forward. Style is you. Style is internalised. Trends are an external expectation that's kind of thrown at you and you're expected to adhere to it. No. Seek style, not trends, because that's you, that's from within, and that stands the test of time. Number 3, try and use what you already have. We have so many clothes nowadays that many of us forget what's in our wardrobe. Like, I'm not the only person that's found something that's fallen down the back of the wardrobe and gone, oh, forgot I had that. So yeah, try and use what you've already got. Try and reconnect with everything that's already existing in your wardrobe before you go out and buy something new. That leads on to number 4, apply the Wear 30 challenge. So very simple. If you're going to buy something, ask yourself before you buy it, can you promise yourself to wear this at least 30 times? I think, I'll try and find the statistics somewhere, on average we wear items of clothing 7 or 8 times, which is just ridiculous, like unbelievably ridiculous. Clothing is not disposable, it's valuable. There's precious resources, there's precious energy in every single garment that exists. So please try and make sure that when you're buying something with the intention of using it for as long as possible, not just because it's an in-trend thing to have this week. 5, borrow from your friends. Sharing wardrobes with friends, family, whatever, great way to introduce new clothes into your wardrobe circulation without actually owning them. Number 6, I really recommend pursuing or trialling, if you're interested, alternative fashion access routes like rental. Swish Up UK, Buy Rotation, Girl Meets Dress. There are so many amazing growing platforms in the UK that are about fashion rental, so you can rent designer things for a fraction of the price and then they go back and someone else can use that item, and it's a great way forward for the fashion industry. I actually did an interview with the founder of Buy Rotation, Ashita Carver-Davies, so if you want to watch my interview with her, that is on the channel as well. I'll probably link at the end of the video or something, so you can learn more about the platform and how it works. And a more specific lockdown one, I work part-time from home. I do part-time waitress, do part-time work from home. I find it really difficult most days at the moment to get myself in a headspace to work. Obviously I'm still doing the joggers hoodie attire, and my brother actually suggested this to me, like, get dressed. Even if you're not going out to work, get dressed as if you're going to work. And just by getting dressed, you step into that confidence that gets you in a mindset to work. So I'm going to start trying to do that because I miss dressing nice, getting dressed up. Some people might think, if I love fashion so much, why am I encouraging people to not buy it? Well, to me, fashion isn't clothing acquisition. It's culture, it's art, it's iconography. It's so much deeper than just stuff acquisition. And it's because of that, it's because I love fashion that I want to save it from the monopolised corporations driven by capitalist ideologies of profit and output. I want to see fashion restored to something with much deeper meaning and much more benefit for the community in the world. Fashion needs to be innovated to maintain a relevance and a justifiable relevance at that in modern society. Nobody's outfit will be beautiful or stylish if it has come at the expense of social well-being, human rights and planetary welfare. And that's just a fact. In that sense, I want to spend this year again trying to not buy any clothes, so no new clothes 2021. And I'm going to try and go a step further than what I did, the loopholes I mentioned. I'm going to try and not cave with a moment of weakness and seek an indulgence. I'll see if there's other ways I can find that indulgence and that self-reward for feeling like I need to reward myself for accomplishing something. So that's what I'm going to try and aim to do. I'm also just really looking forward to, once it's safe to do so, getting back in society, just reconnecting with my wardrobe and reconnecting with the art of getting dressed, because oh my gosh, have I missed it. The main thing I've learnt about myself is that my identity is internal. I've spent so many years externalising my identity through my wardrobe that I guess last year really made me stop and reflect on what actually comprises my identity. Why do I dress the way I do? What does it make me feel when I want to dress a certain way? But I think I have a greater acceptance knowing that my identity cannot be externally confirmed by other people viewing my outfit. It's confirmed and validated by me, and getting to express that through my outfits is just the cherry on top. I wouldn't say I'm fully liberated from the pull of fashion, nor do I think I ever will or want to be. Fashion is my passion, and to cut myself off completely from the industry I think would be to deny a part of who I am. There's a really good quote that I do want to finish on today, and it's from Zero Waste chef Anne-Marie Bonneau, and it goes, "We don't need a handful of people doing zero waste perfectly, we need millions of people doing it imperfectly." And although this is about cooking, I think it's fairly easy to see how this can be translated into fashion consumption. We don't need a handful of people not buying any clothes at all. We need millions of people drastically cutting down their fashion consumption and buying much less, but buying a lot better. And with that, I think we'll leave it there for today. Thank you so much for listening to me share my experience of my year without buying clothes, the No New Clothes 2020 challenge. Hopefully you'll find authentic and honest, truthful experience of how I got on with it. I hope it's inspired at least someone in some way to maybe try their own challenge, try and reconsider their own fashion consumption or their engagement with the industry. If you are doing your own fashion challenge, I'd love to hear about it. You can either comment below or drop me an inbox on Instagram at Annabel Lindsay. I always find it very interesting to hear about people taking a proactive stance on their place within fashion. And when it comes to circular fashion, you've got to be there or be square. So thank you very much for listening. Have a blessed day, and I will speak to you next time.